My brother whispered, "Enjoy the termite farm," when the lawyer read our father's will. He inherited the family's $12 million car dealership empire. I got a rotting, abandoned farmhouse in the middle of a swamp. My mother and brother laughed at me, telling me to sell it for scrap. They had no idea that my father had left me a secret. Behind a false wall in the crumbling library, I found a steel bank vault. And inside wasn't dust, it was $34 million in gold bars. Watch the moment I walked into my brother's office and dropped a cashier's check that silenced him forever. "Enjoy the termite farm, loser." My brother Kevin whispered it in my ear just as the lawyer, Mr. Abernathy, finished reading the last line of our father's will. Kevin sat back in his leather chair, a smug grin plastered across his face, adjusting his Rolex. My mother, sitting between us, patted Kevin's hand affectionately, as if he were the one who had just been insulted, not the one doing the insulting. "My name is Sam, and for my entire life, I was the other son." Kevin was the star. He was the high school quarterback, the business major, the one who was groomed from birth to take over Dad's empire. I was the carpenter, the guy who liked working with his hands, the one Dad called simple, because I preferred building cabinets to balancing spreadsheets. When Dad passed away from a sudden heart attack, we knew the division of assets would be lopsided. But I didn't expect it to be a humiliation. The estate was substantial. The crown jewel was Miller Motors, a chain of 5 luxury car dealerships across the state, valued at roughly $12 million. There was also the family home in the suburbs, a stock portfolio, and various liquid assets. "To my son, Kevin," Mr. Abernathy had read, his voice dry, "I leave 100% ownership of Miller Motors, the stock portfolio, and the primary residence, with the stipulation that he cares for his mother." Kevin had fist-pumped at a will reading. "And to my son Samuel," Mr. Abernathy continued, pausing to adjust his glasses, "I leave the property known as the Old Henderson Place." That was it. The Old Henderson Place was a decrepit Victorian farmhouse on 10 acres of swampy land about an hour north of the city. Dad had bought it at a foreclosure auction 20 years ago for dirt cheap, thinking he would flip it. He never did. It had sat vacant for 2 decades, rotting. The roof leaked, the foundation was cracking, and I was pretty sure it was infested with raccoons. "Is that it?" I asked, stunned. "A house that should be condemned." "Dad knew you liked fixing things, Sam." Kevin laughed, checking his phone. "He figured you needed a project since you'll never run a real business. Honestly, he did you a favor. If you scrap the copper wiring, you might make a few $100. "Kevin, be nice," Mom said, though she didn't look at me. "Your father wanted Sam to have something suited to his skills." "It's an insult," I said, standing up. "He left Kevin $12 million and left me a liability. The property taxes alone will bankrupt me before I can even renovate it." "Then sell it to me." Kevin shrugged. "I'll give you 10 grand for the land. I need a place to dump old tires." I looked at them. My mother, who had always enabled Dad's favoritism, and my brother, who had never worked a hard day in his life, but acted like he built the world. "No," I said, grabbing the deed from the table. "I'll keep it." "Suit yourself," Kevin sneered. "Don't come crying to me when the roof collapses on your head." I drove out to the property that afternoon. It was worse than I remembered. The driveway was overgrown with weeds effectively blocking my truck, so I had to walk the last 100 yards. The house loomed against the grey sky, a skeletal structure of peeling white paint and broken windows. The front porch sagged dangerously to the left. I unlocked the front door, the key stuck, and I had to shoulder it open. The smell hit me instantly. Mildew, dust, and old wood. I walked through the dark hallway. Ideally, I wanted to fix it up and flip it. If I did the work myself, maybe I could squeeze $50,000 of profit out of it. It would take a year of back-breaking labor, but it was all I had. For the next 3 weeks, I camped in the living room in a sleeping bag. I spent my days tearing out rot and my nights eating canned beans by the light of a lantern, because the electricity was unconnected yet. Kevin called me once. Not to check on me, but to brag. Just ordered a new Porsche, he said. Company car, obviously. How's the shack? Find any dead bodies yet? Goodbye, Kevin, I said, and hung up. The breakthrough happened on a Tuesday. I was working in the library, a room on the ground floor with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves that were warped from water damage. I was tearing them out with a crowbar, planning to reframe the wall behind them. I ripped a large section of shelving away from the wall. Behind it, instead of drywall or studs, there was wood paneling. Dark, polished mahogany that looked strangely untouched by the decay in the rest of the house. I frowned. Why would someone put expensive mahogany behind a cheap bookshelf? I tapped the wood with my hammer. It sounded hollow. Curious, I looked closer. There was a seam in the wood, barely visible. It looked like a door, but there was no handle. I ran my fingers along the edge of the paneling until I felt a small knot in the wood. I pressed it. Click. A mechanism disengaged. The entire section of the wall popped forward an inch. My heart started pounding. I hooked my fingers into the gap and pulled. The heavy panel swung open on silent, well-oiled hinges. Behind it was not a room, but a steel door. A heavy, industrial-grade steel door with a dial combination lock, like a bank vault. I stepped back, wiping sweat from my forehead. This wasn't just a hidden closet. This was a secure facility. I tried the handle. Locked, obviously. I pulled out my phone and called Mr. Abernathy, the lawyer. "This is Sam Reed," I said when he answered. "I'm at the house. I found something, Mr. Reed. If it's about the property taxes, I already told you." "No," I interrupted. "I found a vault. A hidden vault behind a false wall in the library." "Did my father leave a combination?" Silence on the line. Then Mr. Abernathy's voice changed. It became very serious. "A vault? Are you sure?" I'm looking right at it. "It's massive. Your father never mentioned a vault," Mr. Abernathy said. "However, when he bought that house 20 years ago, he bought it from the estate of a man named Silas Thorne. Does that name mean anything to you?" "No." Thorne was an eccentric industrialist in the 1940s. Rumor had it he didn't trust banks. He died without heirs. Your father bought the house as is, contents included. He visited it once, said it was a dump, and never went back. He likely never knew that vault was there. So, whatever is inside is mine. The house and its contents are yours, Sam. If you can open it. "I can open it," I said, looking at the heavy steel. "I'm a carpenter. I have tools." It took me 4 hours. I couldn't crack the code, so I had to use an angle grinder to cut through the hinges. It was brutal work, creating a shower of sparks that lit up the dark library. Finally, with a groan of metal, the heavy door gave way. I shined my flashlight into the darkness. It was a small room, maybe 10 by 10. The air inside was stale and dry. It was lined with metal shelves. On the shelves were rows and rows of metal boxes. And in the corner, covered by a tarp, was something large and bulky. I walked in. I grabbed the first metal box and opened the lid. I stopped breathing. It wasn't cash. It was gold. Small, heavy bars of gold, stamped with the date, 1938. I grabbed the next box. More gold. I grabbed a third. This one was filled with jewelry diamonds, rubies, sapphires, set in heavy, antique platinum settings. I stumbled back, my mind racing. There were 50 boxes on these shelves. Then I looked at the bulky shape under the tarp in the corner. I walked over and pulled the canvas off. It was a motorcycle. But not just any motorcycle. It was a 1915 Cyclone board track racer. I knew enough about vintage machines to know that this was one of the rarest motorcycles in the world. The last one I saw at auction sold for nearly $1 million. And this one looked pristine. I sat down on the dusty floor of the vault, surrounded by millions of dollars of gold and history. My father had left me this house as a joke. He had left me a termite farm to mock me. He had accidentally given me a fortune that dwarfed his car dealerships. My phone rang. It was Kevin. "Hey, loser." Kevin's voice was slurred. He was probably drunk at the country club. "Mom wants to know if you've given up yet. She says you can move back into the basement if you apologize for being ungrateful." I looked at the gold bar in my hand. I looked at the rare motorcycle. "I'm not giving up, Kevin," I said, my voice eerily calm. "In fact, I think I'm going to enjoy this house. I really think I am. Whatever. Just don't ask for money." "I won't," I said. "Oh, and Kevin, you might want to sit down. I'm coming to your office tomorrow. I need to buy a truck. A big one." I hung up. I knew I had to be smart. I couldn't just start spending gold bars. I needed to get this appraised, catalogued, and insured. But more importantly, I needed to make sure Kevin and Mom couldn't touch it. I called Mr. Abernathy back. "Mr. Abernathy," I said, "I got it open. And you need to come out here. Now. And bring a security team." Mr. Abernathy arrived 2 hours later in a black SUV, followed by 2 armored trucks. He stepped into the library, looked at the open vault, then at the stacks of gold bars I had arranged on the floor, and simply took off his glasses to wipe them. "I stand corrected," Mr. Abernathy said, his voice trembling slightly. "It wasn't a termite farm. It was a piggy bank." The next 48 hours were a blur of appraisals and security protocols. We hired a private firm to catalogue everything. The final tally was staggering. The gold bars, worth approximately $22 million at current market rates. The jewelry collection, appraised at $8.5 million due to the rarity of the stones and the antique settings. The 1915 Cyclone motorcycle. It went to a specialized auctioneer who estimated it would fetch $1.5 million easily. There were also bearer bonds, antique coins, and stacks of Depression-era cash that had collector value. Total estimated value, $34 million. My father's entire estate, the dealerships, the house, the stocks, was worth about $15 million. Kevin had walked away thinking he won the lottery. In reality, he had been given the appetizers, and I had been left the main course. "Is it mine?" I asked Mr. Abernathy as we sat in his office the next day. "Legally? Can they touch it?" "The wording in your father's will was very specific," Mr. Abernathy said, tapping the document. "I leave the property known as the Old Henderson Place, and all contents therein, to my son Samuel. It's ironclad, Sam. He didn't know the vault was there, but he legally signed it over to you. It's yours." "Good," I said. "Now I need a favor. I need you to set up a blind trust. I don't want the money in my name publicly yet. And I need a cashier's check for $120,000. "What for?" "I told Kevin I was going to buy a truck," I smiled. I drove my rusted, rattling 2004 Ford pickup to Miller Motors the next morning. I parked it right next to a gleaming row of Mercedes convertibles, enjoying the look of horror on the salesman's face. I walked into the showroom. It was sleek, modern, and smelled like leather and espresso. Kevin was in the glass-walled manager's office, feet up on the desk, laughing on the phone. When he saw me, he rolled his eyes and buzzed me in. "What are you doing here, Sam?" Kevin asked, not hanging up the phone. "I told you, I'm not buying that swampland for more than 10 grand. He finally hung up and looked at me with pity. Look at you. You've got sawdust in your hair. Mom's worried, you know? She thinks you're going to starve out there. I'm fine, Kevin, I said. Actually, I came to do business. Kevin laughed. Business? What, you want a job detailing cars? We're full up, but maybe I can squeeze you in for the night shift. I want to buy a truck, I said, pointing through the glass to the showroom floor. That one, the G-Wagon 4x4, the matte black one. Kevin stared at me. Then he burst out laughing. He laughed so hard he choked on his coffee. Sam, that's a G-Wagon. It's listed at $180,000. You couldn't afford the lug nuts on that thing. How much is it with the family discount? I asked calmly. Family discount? Kevin sneered. The family discount is for people who contribute to the family legacy. But fine, I'll humor you. Cost plus 5%. Call it $150. Do you want to finance it over... what? 80 years. I'll take it, I said. $150. Write it up. Kevin stopped laughing. He looked annoyed now. Stop wasting my time, Sam. Get out before I have security throw you out. I have real customers coming in. I am a real customer, I said. I reached into my dirty work jacket and pulled out the cashier's check Mr. Abernathy had prepared. I slammed it on his desk. Kevin looked at the check. He picked it up. His eyes scanned the amount, the bank watermark, the signature. What ... is this real? He looked up, confused. Where did you get this? Did you take a loan? You don't have collateral. Did you steal this? It's real money, Kevin. Verify it. He called his finance manager in. They ran the check. It cleared instantly. The mood in the office shifted from mockery to heavy, suffocating confusion. Kevin looked at me like I was an alien. How? He whispered. Did you sell the land? To a developer? Who paid you this much? I didn't sell the land, I said, taking the keys to the G-Wagon from the stunned sales manager. I'm keeping the land. I'm going to restore the house. It's got good bones. But where did the money come from? Kevin demanded, standing up. Dad didn't leave you cash. He left it all to me. He left me the house, I said, walking to the door, and everything inside it. There was nothing inside it. It was a dump. You'd be surprised what people leave behind, I said. Oh, and Kevin, you might want to turn on the news tonight. There's going to be a story about a historic auction. You'll find it interesting. I drove the G-Wagon off the lot, leaving my rusted truck behind for them to scrap. It felt good. But the real show was just starting. That evening, the local news broke the story. Mr. Abernathy had issued a press release about the Henderson hoard, though he kept my name anonymous for the moment, simply referring to me as the property owner. I sat in my hotel room, wasn't sleeping in the dusty house anymore, and watched the TV. A stunning discovery in the northern county today, the anchor announced. A hidden vault containing millions in Depression-era gold, and a rare 1915 Cyclone motorcycle was found in a derelict farmhouse. Experts are calling it the find of the century, valued at over $34 million. The identity of the lucky heir who inherited the property has not been released. But ... double quotes, my phone rang. It was Mom. I let it ring. It rang again. Kevin. I let it ring. Then a text from Kevin. Pick up the phone. Is this you? Then another text from Mum. Sam, honey, are you watching the news? Call me immediately. We need to talk about the estate. I smiled and took a sip of champagne. They had spent my entire life telling me I was worthless. They had mocked my inheritance. They had laughed when I said I would keep the house. Now they realized that the garbage they threw at me was made of solid gold. I finally answered the phone on the third call. It was Kevin again. Hello? You son of a B***********. Kevin screamed. You knew what was in there. I found it 3 days ago, Kevin. That's Dad's gold, he shouted. That's my gold. He left the business and assets to me. You just got the house. And the contents therein, I reminded him, quoting the will. Mr. Abernathy was very clear. I'm suing you, Kevin yelled. I'm going to sue you for every ounce of that gold. You defrauded the estate. You hid assets. I didn't hide anything. Dad bought the house with the vault inside. He gave it to me. You laughed at it. Remember? Termite farm, you said. Mom is crying, Sam. She's sick. How could you do this to her? She's sick? I asked dryly. She seemed fine at the reading when she was patting your hand while you insulted me. Tell her to take an aspirin. We are coming over there, Kevin threatened. We are coming to the house right now. I wouldn't do that, I said. I hired security, armed security, and since it's private property, well, you know the laws. I hung up. But Kevin wasn't the type to give up. He was greedy, and he was used to getting his way. The next morning I was served with a lawsuit. They weren't just claiming the gold. They were claiming that I had undue influence over Dad, and that the will was invalid because Dad was out of sound mind when he gave me the house, even though the will was written 10 years ago. It was a desperate, Hail Mary lawsuit, but it froze my assets. The auction house couldn't sell the gold until the legal title was clear. I went to Mr. Abernathy's office. They blocked the sale, I said, frustrated. It's a standard tactic, Abernathy said. They want to bleed you dry in legal fees so you settle. They want half. They get nothing, I said. They got $12 million. This is mine. We can win, Abernathy said. But it will take months. Unless ... Unless what? Unless we find proof that your father intended for you to have it. Or at least, proof that he explicitly didn't want Kevin to have it. Dad didn't know about the vault, I said. So how could there be proof? There was a journal, Abernathy said slowly. In your father's personal safe. Kevin has it. He took it after the funeral. If there's anything in there about the Henderson house, we need it. I knew that journal. Dad wrote in it every night. If he knew about the vault, even a rumor of it, it would be in there. Kevin will never give it to us, I said. No, Abernathy agreed. But under discovery rules for the lawsuit he just filed, we can demand all documents related to your father's estate planning. We filed the motion. Kevin stalled. He claimed the journal was lost. But then, I remembered something. Dad was paranoid. He made copies of everything. Digital copies. He had a cloud server for the dealership where he stored business records. But he also kept personal files there. And I, the simple carpenter who liked fixing things, was the one who had built the server room for Miller Motors 5 years ago. I knew the admin password. Mr. Abernathy, I said, pulling out my laptop. I think I can save us some time. I logged in. I navigated through the folders. Financials, inventory, personnel, and then personal. I opened it. There was a folder labeled Scans Journal. I opened the most recent entry, dated 2 weeks before he died. My eyes widened as I read the handwriting on the screen. October 14th. The doctor says my heart is weak. I need to get my affairs in order. Kevin is a shark, just like me. He'll take the business and run it well, or run it into the ground, I don't care. He has no soul, but Sam... Tam has heart. I've been hard on him. I went out to the Henderson place today. I remembered the rumors about Old Man Thorne's gold. I poked around. I found the panel in the library. I didn't open it. But I know it's there. I'm leaving the house to Sam. If he's smart enough to find it, he deserves it. If he's not, well, at least he has a roof. Don't tell Kevin. He'd sell his own mother for a gold bar. I sat back, stunned. Dad knew. He knew the whole time. And he deliberately hid it from Kevin. Mr. Abernathy, I said, turning the laptop around. I think we just won the lawsuit. We presented the digital journal entry in court 2 weeks later. Kevin's lawyer tried to argue it was a fake, that I had hacked the system and planted it. But metadata doesn't lie. The file creation date was verified. October 14th, 2 weeks before Dad died. The IP address was Dad's home computer. The judge looked at Kevin, who was sweating through his expensive suit. The intent of the deceased is clear, the judge ruled. Samuel Reed is the rightful owner of the property and all its contents. The lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. And Mr. Kevin Reed, you are ordered to pay the defendant's legal fees. Kevin stormed out of the courtroom, kicking a trash can on his way. Mum stayed behind, looking small and frail in the gallery. She walked up to me as I was packing my bag. Sam, she said, her voice trembling. Your father, he kept secrets from all of us. He knew who we were, Mom, I said gently. He knew Kevin was greedy. And he knew you would side with Kevin. I'm your mother, she sniffed. We're family, this money. It changes things. It's too much for one person. We should share it. It's what your father would have wanted. I just showed you proof that it is explicitly not what he wanted, I said. He wanted me to have it because he knew I wouldn't let it destroy me. And he knew Kevin would spend it on cars and vacations within a year. But I have needs, she pleaded. The house is expensive to maintain. Kevin's business ... the market is down. He might need help. Kevin has a $12 million business, I said. If he fails, that's on him. And you have the house and your own savings. You'll be fine. So you're just going to keep it all? $34 million? And leave your family with nothing? I'm leaving you with exactly what Dad left you, I said. Miller Motors and the house. It was enough for you 2 weeks ago when you thought I was broke. It should be enough now. I walked away. The next year was busy. I restored the farmhouse. I didn't flip it. I made it my home. I fixed the roof, leveled the foundation, and polished the mahogany floors until they gleamed. I kept the library exactly as it was, minus the hidden door, which I sealed shut. I sold the gold slowly, investing the money in a diversified portfolio. I kept the motorcycle. It looked good in the living room. Kevin ran Miller Motors into the ground within 18 months.